Tonight, you're going to eat something that didn't exist 200 years ago. You won't think twice about it. It will be soft, it will be sweet, it will dissolve in your mouth almost before you chew it. But for nearly all of human history, that meal would have been impossible. Worse, it might have killed you. Your ancestors didn't eat the way you eat, not even close. And the gap between what they ate and what you eat is so strange, so unsettling, that most people never stop to think about it. Start with something simple. Picture early humans on the savannah, maybe 2 million years ago. What do you imagine them eating? Maybe a piece of fruit, maybe a roasted leg of meat over a fire. That image is mostly wrong. For most of the Pleistocene, early hominins were not the confident hunters you picture in documentaries. They were scavengers. They followed lions and hyenas, waited for the kill, and rushed in afterward to crack open bones the big predators had left behind. Not for the meat, for the marrow inside. Marrow was the prize. It was dense in fat, dense in calories, and unlike meat, it didn't spoil as fast in the African heat. A study led by paleoanthropologist Henry Bunn examined cut marks and percussion marks on ancient animal bones and found that early Homo were specifically targeting bone marrow extraction, not fresh kills. Your ancestors weren't apex predators yet. They were opportunists with sharp rocks. Why does this matter? Because marrow changed everything. That fat, that concentrated source of energy, may have helped fuel something extraordinary, a bigger brain. Brains are expensive. Yours burns roughly 20% of your daily calories just sitting in your skull, doing nothing but thinking. For a brain to grow larger over evolutionary time, something had to pay the energy bill. Anthropologist Leslie Aiello proposed what's now called the expensive tissue hypothesis. The idea is simple. As hominins shifted toward more calorie-dense foods like marrow and meat, their guts could shrink because digesting plants is expensive too. The energy saved from a smaller gut helped finance a larger brain. So in a very real sense, you are not thinking right now in spite of what your ancestors ate. You're thinking because of it. But meat and marrow are only half the story. The other half is even stranger. It's insects. Yes, insects. For most of human evolutionary history, in most regions of the world, insects were a normal, reliable, protein-rich food source. Termites, grubs, beetle larvae, even ants. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups, including work compiled by researcher Julie Lesnick, have found that entomophagy, the practice of eating insects, was likely a consistent part of the human diet going back millions of years, possibly even predating the use of stone tools. Termite mounds, in particular, were a renewable food source. You didn't have to chase them. You didn't have to outsmart them. You just had to know where to dig and how to use a simple tool, like a stripped twig, to pull them out. Some researchers have even argued that early tool use for termite fishing, similar to behavior still seen in chimpanzees today, may have predated stone tools used for butchering meat. Here's the part that should make you pause. If insects were a steady, low-risk, high-protein food source for millions of years of human evolution, then your instinctive disgust toward eating a beetle isn't some deep ancient survival instinct. It's cultural. It was learned, not inherited. Somewhere along the way, certain societies decided insects were repulsive, and that idea spread, while other societies never agreed and still eat insects proudly today. What you find disgusting at the dinner table has almost nothing to do with biology, and almost everything to do with the accident of which culture raised you. Now think about something you eat constantly and barely notice. Starch, bread, pasta, rice, potatoes. For most of human history, none of this was easy to get. And even when it was available in raw plant form, it was barely digestible. Wild tubers and roots were often fibrous, bitter, sometimes mildly toxic, and required serious processing, usually fire, to become edible at all. The control of fire was not just about staying warm or scaring off predators. It was a digestive revolution. Cooking breaks down plant cell walls, denatures proteins, and converts resistant starches into forms your gut can actually absorb. Primatologist Richard Wrangham has argued that cooking may be one of the single most important developments in human evolution. possibly allowing for the dramatic increase in brain size and the corresponding decrease in jaw and gut size that defines modern humans. Without fire, you would need to spend hours every single day just chewing raw food to extract enough calories to survive. Chimpanzees today spend nearly half their waking hours chewing. You don't. Cooking did that for you. It outsourced digestion to a campfire, millions of years before you were born. So when you think of ancient eating, don't picture some primal feast of meat. Picture something closer to opportunistic survival. Scavenged marrow when you could get it, insects when you needed protein and didn't have time to hunt, roots and tubers softened and made digestible by fire. Whatever was available, wherever you happened to be standing. There was no single ancient human diet. There were thousands of them, shaped entirely by geography. Coastal populations relied heavily on shellfish and fish, which some researchers, including those studying sites along the South African coast, believe may have provided critical omega-3 fatty acids that supported brain development during certain periods of human evolution. Inland populations relied on different combinations of plants, insects, and whatever animals were locally available. This is where it gets uncomfortable for the modern idea of eating like our ancestors. There's no one ancestral diet to return to. The phrase doesn't even make sense biologically. Humans are, and always have been, dietary generalists. That flexibility, the willingness to eat almost anything edible in almost any environment, is arguably one of the core reasons your species survived ice ages, droughts, and migrations across nearly every climate on Earth. Now compare all of that to what's on your plate tonight. A meal engineered to be hyper-palatable, refined sugar that hits your bloodstream almost instantly, refined flour stripped of the fiber that used to slow digestion down, fat and salt and sugar combined in ratios that almost never occur together in nature, because food companies have learned through decades of research exactly which combinations make you keep eating past the point of being full. Your brain's reward system was shaped by an environment of scarcity. For nearly the entire span of human evolution, calorie-dense food was rare, and craving it intensely was a survival advantage. The humans who felt a strong urge to eat fat and sugar when they found it were the ones who had enough energy reserves to survive the next famine, the next harsh winter, the next failed hunt. That craving system still exists inside you. Nothing about your neurology has caught up to supermarkets. You are not weak when you struggle to put down a bag of chips. You are running ancient software in an environment it was never designed for. Your dopamine system doesn't know the difference between a wild patch of ripe, rare fruit in the African savanna and a vending machine stocked 24 hours a day. It just registers. Dense calories, available now, take them. Psychologist and researcher Robert Sapolsky has written extensively about how modern abundance creates a fundamental mismatch with ancient reward circuitry, where systems built for scarcity now operate in an environment of near constant availability. The result is a kind of mismatch disease, not a moral failing. So consider for a moment what a single modern meal actually represents. A burger contains meat, the product of agriculture and refrigeration your ancestors never had. A bun made from wheat that was domesticated only around 10,000 years ago, a blink in evolutionary time. A sugary drink containing more refined sugar in one serving than a hunter-gatherer might have encountered in an entire month if they were lucky enough to find wild honey. None of this existed for the overwhelming majority of human history, and yet your body, your cravings, your reward system are still calibrated for a world where that food never appeared at all. This is the real answer, not a primal feast around a fire, not a noble hunter dragging home a kill for the tribe. The real ancient human diet was opportunistic, varied, often bizarre by modern standards, frequently centered on marrow, insects, and whatever fire could make digestible. It was shaped by scarcity, by geography, by survival. And that history is still inside you every single day, whether you notice it or not. Tonight, when you eat something that didn't exist 200 years ago, remember that your body doesn't know that. It's still trying to survive an ice age that ended 12,000 years ago, using cravings built for a world that no longer exists.